Okay, go ahead.
بسم الله الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه بعد. With the name of Allah, may Allah's peace and blessings be upon the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Ramadan Mubarak to all of you. May Allah accept from us this Ramadan and make this a time that's blessed, even though we're disconnected and don't have that connection with the physical presence of all of us being in the masjid. May Allah connect us and allow us to benefit from this virtual presence. This is really a gift in this day and age to have this happen to us at this time with the technology that we have. It allows us to still have a way to stay connected with the spirit of Ramadan and to try to gain knowledge as much as we can and stay connected to the Quran virtually. And that's what this effort is. So if you are trying to benefit from this Ramadan and trying to finish the Quran, every night you're probably trying to go through a juz. So this series is to go through a story from the juz of that night. So since this is tonight you would be reading the third juz, inshallah, I'm going to be talking a little bit about the third juz. Just take a step back and think about the Quran and in general, like what we're trying to benefit from. When Allah talks about the Quran or Ramadan in the Quran, he mentions that this is the month that he revealed the Quran as a guidance for humanity. It's meant to be a guidance for us. So this is a chance for us to try to recite the Quran and try to also take a pause and try to understand the meanings of the Quran and try to benefit from those meanings and internalize those in our lives. So today, inshallah, I'm going to talk about a portion of Ali Imran. So if you're following along, inshallah, this is going to be surah number 3, chapter 3, verse 33 is where I'm going to start, inshallah. I have some slides here just to talk through them. I'm going to try to, inshallah, give some background for the verses. And inshallah, hopefully this is something that's beneficial. So I start with the name of Allah and ask Allah to send his peace and blessings upon the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. I'm just going to pull up my PowerPoint here. So again, if you're following along this, inshallah, I'm going to start from surah number 3, which is Ali Imran, verse number 33. So just to give some background, the part that I'm going to start reciting is actually the name of the surah. It's Ali Imran. It's talking about the house of Imran, the family of Imran. So this first ayah that is where Allah mentions, I'm going to recite. بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إن الله اصطفى آدم ونوحا وآل إبراهيم وآل عمران على العالمين. So Allah says, indeed, Allah chose Adam and Noah and the family of Ibrahim and the family of Imran over the worlds. So Allah begins this portion of the Quran by talking about certain select people that he has chosen. This portion, just to give a little bit of background and context, was revealed, many scholars say it was around the 9th year of Hijrah, after Hijrah. And it was because there was a delegation from the Christians from Yemen, from Najran, that came, and they obviously since they were Christian, they had that methodology, and they were trying to debate with the Prophet ﷺ and the Muslims. So these ayat were revealed to clarify the Muslim position and to also convey the truth of Islam and how it views these important concepts of the family of Imran, and we're going to talk about who that is. So in this verse, Allah starts by saying that indeed Allah chose Adam and Noah. So we know Adam. Everyone, the Christians who would be hearing this, hearing the Prophet ﷺ recite this, they know that they know these names of Adam and Noah alayhi salam. They're famous prophets. So those are individuals that Allah chose. And then the second part, on top of mentioning 2 individuals that Allah chose, he mentions 2 families or 2 houses that he chose. We know the family of Ibrahim was chosen by Allah. It wasn't just Ibrahim alayhi salam that was favored by Allah because of his devotion and his turning to Allah and worshiping only Allah, but it was also his family. So his sons and the children, one after the other, his wife and Hajar, and it was many that were in the house of Ibrahim alayhi salam and generations after that were blessed and chosen by Allah. And that's what Allah is referring to here. And not just the family of Ibrahim, who's well known and who the Christians definitely know when they're hearing this, but it's also the family of Imran, who is someone that as the Muslims believe in as well. And so this is maybe not as familiar of a name for many people, and that's why when we go through these ayat, it'll become more clear who is this family and what makes them so special and why were they chosen by Allah. So then in the next ayah, Allah mentions, to continuing on that, ذُرِّيَّةً بَعْضُهَا مِن بَعْضٍ وَاللَّهُ سَمِيعٌ عَلِيمٌ. So Allah says that they are descendants, like children, some of them from others. And Allah is hearing and knowing. So Allah, every time, we see the names of Allah very often in the Quran, we see them paired. We see like Allah mentions Allahu Alim al Hakim, that Allah is all knowing and He's most wise. Allah mentions Ghafur Rahim, that He's the most forgiving, most merciful. We hear Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, that we say all the time, the most merciful, the extremely merciful. So we hear many times Allah pairs His names, and He gives us an understanding of who He is. So He does that again here. He says that Wallahu Sami'un Alim. One thing that's important is that if you're just reciting very quickly, you just see these names and you're maybe hearing these names and it sounds like it's just another name that Allah is putting in the ayah. But every single thing you have to remember and take a step back when you're reciting the Quran. It's not, there's nothing that Allah put in this Quran that Allah said that was by accident. Every single thing has a purpose, and Allah could have said much more. The number of pages of the Quran could have been many more if He willed, but it is as it was revealed. The limited number of pages, the limited number of words. So if you look at the Quran like that, it helps you to critically think, why these names, right? If Allah could have mentioned other names, why did He mention these names in particular? There's a reason for that. So He says here, Wallahu Sami'un Alim, that He's all hearing and He's knowing, right? So these are some attributes of Allah that we're going to see more of in the coming ayat. So then Allah continues. إذ قالت امرأة عمران رب إني نذرت لك ما في بطني محررا فتقبل مني إنك أنت السميع العليم. So Allah says, when, and in the translation, and just so you know, the translation that I'm using is Sahih International. So they're including here, just to clarify that it's not mentioned in the ayah, but to clarify, it's as if Allah is telling Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam to say or to explain to them when the wife of Imran. Now we're going back to who the important people in the story of the family of the house of Imran are. So he says, when the wife of Imran said, "My Lord, I have pledged to you, inni nazartu laka ma fi batni," like I have vowed. Nazartu is like you're vowing to you what is in my womb, consecrated for your service. What that means is that that she's devoting, the wife of Imran is devoting her child that's not born yet, that's in her womb, to be devoted to the service of Allah. And then she's saying, I'm declaring. So she's saying, I'm declaring whatever I have, that inshallah, that this child that I'm going to have, I want to devote this child to your service. So accept this from me. Indeed, you are, again, same names that are used. Allah, she says, Innaka anta sami'u alim. Again, you are the all-hearing, the all-knowing. So she's making this dua in secret to Allah, wanting to please Him and wanting to devote this child to Him. So one thing to understand is, obviously, you can tell from this ayah that the wife of Imran was a very pious and righteous woman, that she sees it as an honor to devote her child to the worship of Allah and to the service of Allah. Typically at that time, the person that would be devoted to the service of Allah and worship Allah is a man, right? It's a male that's done in the temple at the time. That would be someone that is devoted to the service of God, right? So that's what she's expecting when she's making this dua. It's not mentioned explicitly, but that's what she's expecting when she says this. And so like she's asking Allah, please accept this dua from me because you are the all hearer, the all knower. You know what's in my heart. You know that I'm doing this sincerely for your sake. And I wanted to devote this this child to you. What's really interesting for me is when I was reciting this the first time, I see that like in Arabic it says "Inni nadartu laka ma fi batni muharraran," which means that I am vowing. I'm vowing whatever is in my womb, muharraran. Like the Arabic word is used as muharrara. When I saw that, I was a little confused because I thought like that word comes from tahrir, which conveys meaning of freedom and liberation. Like that's the idea that I had. But it's clear here that what she's actually talking about sounds like the opposite. She's saying, no, I'm actually declaring this child to be your slave, like to be enslaved to you, which is the opposite logically of freedom, right? And so when I saw the translation that I was looking at the time, it translated that as devoted to you, like devoted to your service. So that, I was a little confused by that. But then afterwards, I was looking, if you're familiar, if you know, there's a really good collection called In the Shade of the Quran by Sayyid Qutb, which I highly recommend. It's very good to understand and in plain English the background behind some of this, and also like the nuances behind the Arabic language that are used that you don't get from a translation. You can get a lot from a translation, don't get me wrong. A lot of people just shy away from translations altogether because they think that there's a huge gap in the Arabic, which there is. You can still benefit from the translation, but you can benefit more if you know the Arabic and you understand it a little bit. So what Sayyid Qutb talks about is it's actually true. This word muharrara actually has to do with freedom. It comes from the same root, which is strange, but it's actually not. If he explains, the freedom here is freedom of servitude from anything else except Allah. You're freeing. She's saying that she's declaring this child to be free from the servitude of anything else except Allah, and Allah is truly the only one that has ultimate authority. Everything else is just, it just seems like it's authority, or it seems like it in whatever world that we have in front of us. But truly, the ultimate authority is Allah. And so if someone realizes that, then they free themselves of the confines of this dunya, which is a huge concept that's mentioned over and over again in the Quran. It's freeing people from being confined by the restrictions of this dunya to turn back to Allah, who is their creator and who they're going to ultimately return to. So then she says, "Innaka anta sami'ul alim," because she's making this dua in secret. No one else can hear her, but she knows that Allah can hear her, and He's all-knowing. He knows her intentions behind it. Then Allah continues, فَلَمَّا وَضَعَتْهَا قَالَتْ رَبِّ إِنِّي وَضَعْتُهَا أُنثَى وَاللَّهُ أَعْلَمُ بِمَا وَضَعَتْ وَلَيْسَ الذَّكَرُ كَالْأُنثَى وَإِنِّي سَمَّيْتُهَا مَرْيَمَ وَإِنِّي أُعِيذُهَا بِكَ وَذُرِّيَّتَهَا مِنَ الشَّيْطَانِ الرَّجِيمِ. But when she delivered her, she said, "My Lord, my Rabb, I have delivered a female." So she's surprised, right? Because she said in the previous ayah that she wanted to devote this child to service. And in her mind, the one that's devoted to service is the male, as was done traditionally at the time. But Allah gave her a female. And in shock, she says that this is a female. And she's sounding like almost disappointed that Allah gave her a female. And then it said, like, it's clear that Allah mentions this part in the ayah, "Wallahu a'lam bima wada'at, wa laysa dhakaru kal untha." Allah knows what she delivered. Like, Allah Azza wa Jalla knows that. He's very well aware of that. And it's not like she was saying that because she didn't think Allah was aware, but it was just out of shock. Like she was almost like a little bit disheartened. She wanted to devote this child to the service of Allah, and it's a female. But Allah is saying, but Allah knows what she delivered. And there's a very specific reason why she delivered a female. Everything is on purpose. Allah willed it to be a female. وَلَيْسَ الذَّكَرُ كَالْأُنثَى. And the male is not like the female, right? وَإِنِّي سَمَّيْتُهَا مَرْيَمَ وَإِنِّي أُعِيذُهَا بِكَ وَذُرِّيَّتَهَا مِنَ الشَّيْطَانِ الرَّجِيمِ. And then she says, "And I have named her Maryam." So it's like this private conversation that Maryam, or that the wife of Imran is having with Allah. She's saying, "And I have named her Maryam." and I seek refuge for her and her children from the accursed shaitan, or from shaitan that's expelled from the mercy of Allah. So you see this again, this how the wife of Imran was so special. She has this personal conversation with Allah. She has a very intimate relationship with Allah. She feels very connected, and she has this conversation with him almost in this ayah, and you can sense a little bit of her sadness by that. But Allah has a plan, and He's mentioning that He has a plan, and there's a reason for it. And the other thing that what we're seeing is that is how much value, and we're going to see these in the next few ayat, is how much value Allah puts on the female in this situation over the male. Even though that was not what people would think at the time, they didn't think that the female would be the person or the one that can carry this task of being of service to Allah. But Allah chose Maryam to be in this position, and He elevates her, as we're going to see in the next few ayahs. So something very special. Then Allah continues, ayah 37. فتقبلها ربها بقبول حسن وأنبتها نباتا حسنا وكفلها زكريا كلما دخل عليها زكريا المحراب وجد عندها رزقا قال يا مريم أنى لك هذا قالت هو من عند الله إن الله يرزق من يشاء بغير حساب. So her Lord accepted her with good acceptance and caused her to grow in a good manner and put her in the care of Zakaria. Every time Zakaria entered upon her in the prayer chamber, he found with her provision. He said, O Mary, from where is this coming to you? She said, it is from Allah. Indeed, Allah provides whom He wills without account. So this is the response to what the wife of Imran said when she made that dua in the beginning. She said, I am vowing this child to you, فَتَقَبَّلْ مِنِّي, so accept this from me. It's like she's saying, accept this like dua from me, right? Here Allah says, فَتَقَبَّلَهَا رَبُّهَا بِقَبُولٍ حَسَنٍ. Allah is saying that He accepted her, meaning Allah accepted Maryam. It's something really powerful. Like these words that Allah is saying is that He didn't just accept the dua. Like when we make a dua, we're asking Allah to accept from us, like this dua, right? Here, Allah is saying that He's accepting her as a human being. Like He's accepting her, and that's a huge elevation in and of itself, right? And then He says He accepted her with a good acceptance, بِقَبُولٍ حَسَنٍ وَأَنبَتَهَا نَبَاتًا حَسَنًا, and He caused her to grow. Like a lot of times in the Quran, you'll see nabat referring to nurturing of plants, right? So it's like Allah is nurturing her and allowing her to grow. It's as if to say, like this is someone that has a lot of talent. Maryam is someone that has a lot of talent, a lot of potential. What does someone do when they see someone with a lot of talent, a lot of potential? They take them in and they grow them. They nurture those talents so that they can become more and more stronger in that person, and they put them in the care of a good mentor. And this is what Allah did. Allah accepted her with a beautiful acceptance. He nurtured her, and He willed for her to be under the care of Zakaria. And Zakaria himself is a really pious, righteous man, a prophet. And so this itself is a huge honor that Allah is putting her under the care of Zakaria. He's going to be her mentor, the one that's taking care of her. كلما دخل عليها زكريا المحراب وجد عندها رزقا. Every single time Zakaria he went to the mihrab, like the prayer chamber that they were in, that she was in praying, because she would continuously worship Allah and pray to Allah. Again, she devoted her service to Allah. Then she would, whenever Zakaria would go to the prayer chamber to see her, to take care of her, he would see that she already has rizq. She already has her provision. And he was surprised by that, because she's inside the prayer chamber, and she's always has rizq provided to her. She always has provision. She doesn't ever have to ask from anyone else. So he says, قال يا مريم أنى لك هذا? Like, how do you have this? قالت هو من عند الله. And you start to get a sense of the character of Maryam alayhi salam, like how she was so connected to Allah. She was a very special woman. She said, this is from Allah. Like it was like a special relationship between her and Allah. This was something specially that Allah gave, and she just said it like that. She said, this is from Allah. This is from Allah, and Allah gives rizq to whoever He wants without any measure. He doesn't have to restrict it. We are the only ones that see restrictions, but Allah can give without restriction. So you see the connection that Maryam alayhi salam has, and in the way that she responds to Zakaria. When she responds like that, then Allah mentions the next ayah, هُنَالِكَ دَعَا زَكَرِيَّا رَبَّهُ قَالَ رَبِّ هَبْ لِي مِن لَّدُنكَ ذُرِّيَّةً طَيِّبَةً إِنَّكَ سَمِيعُ الدُّعَاءِ. So at that moment, when Zakaria is here in the prayer chamber, he sees Maryam alayhi salam, and he hears her saying that she just gets a rizq from Allah. A couple of things that he notices. One is that she's a child. She's a righteous child of the righteous woman, the wife of Imran, right? So he thinks of a child. He's reminded, he's an old man at the time, a prophet. He's reminded of his desire to have a child himself. He sees Maryam being such a good, righteous child, and that's what he wants for himself too. That's one thing. The other thing is he sees how Maryam is just provided by Allah, that she's asking Allah and Allah is giving to her. So he feels inspired by that moment when he hears that to do the same, to make dua and ask and expect the best from Allah, which is how we should make dua. You make dua, you expect the best from Allah. You don't expect anything less than that. So he says, قَالَ رَبِّ هَبْ لِي مِن لَّدُنكَ ذُرِّيَّةً طَيِّبَةً. Simple dua, very simple. All he says is, رَبِّ هَبْ لِي مِن لَّدُنكَ ذُرِّيَّةً طَيِّبَةً, that we see here. In Surah Maryam, there's more to this dua, but that's not the subject in this that's talked about so much in Surah Al Imran. So if you're interested in learning more about that, take a look at Surah 19. You'll see like where Allah talks more about the dua of Zakaria. But here it's simply, give me from you a righteous or pure child. Innaka sami'ud dua. Again, you see like the name of Allah, the attribute of Allah of being sami', the one who hears. Again, like over and over again, that attribute's talked about in this set of verses. Again, not an accident, right? So he's saying you are the one who hears the dua when someone makes it. So he's inspired to make this dua. He makes this dua. Then Allah says, فنادته الملائكة وهو قائم يصلي في المحراب أن الله يبشرك بيحيى مصدقا بكلمة من الله وسيدا وحصورا ونبيا من الصالحين. So the angels called him while he was standing in prayer in the chamber. Indeed, Allah gives you good tidings of John, confirming a word from Allah, and who will be honorable, abstaining, or chaste, and a prophet from among the righteous. So we see here something so beautiful and powerful. Sometimes, and maybe you've personally experienced this, sometimes when you make dua to Allah, it takes many, many years for it to be accepted. He doesn't respond to it right away, or he doesn't give it right away. The responses or the giving of whatever you're asking for is delayed. Sometimes it's right away. And this is an example of where Allah talks about how this prophet, Zakaria, is standing in the prayer chamber after seeing Maryam, being inspired, and he makes this emotional dua in that moment. And he's still standing. While he's standing, still praying, then the angels call him. That's why it says here, فَنَادَتْهُ الْمَلَائِكَةُ وَهُوَ قَائِمٌ يُصَلِّي فِي الْمِحْرَابِ. Like he's still standing, praying in that chamber. The angels come and they call and they say, أَنَّ اللَّهَ يُبَشِّرُكَ بِيَحْيَى مُصَدِّقًا بِكَلِمَةٍ مِّنَ اللَّهِ. Then they say that indeed Allah has given you glad tidings of Yahya, of John. And what's amazing here is, number one, the angels came to Zakaria, and they already gave him the name of the child. They said that this child's name is Yahya. So who named the child here? This child was named by Allah. So a very special child. It was not a name that was given to him except by Allah. So it was a really special thing. Number one is that. Two is then he says, Musaddiqan, the angels say, Musaddiqan bi kalimatin min Allah, that he's going to be confirming a word from Allah. Which is something very special. And then wasayyidan, and he's noble, wahasuran, and he's chaste, all like good qualities of a man. Wanabiyan min as-salihin, and on top of all of that, he's going to be a prophet from the righteous. So what did Zechariah asked for? He asked for a child, a pure child. But what did the angels came? What did Allah respond with? Not just a child, but a child that's named Yahya. That's going to be a confirmed word from Allah, confirming the word from Allah, and a noble person, a chaste person, and a prophet on top of that, on top of all of that from the righteous. So Allah didn't just give; Allah gave better than whatever He was imagining. And same thing with the wife of Imran, as we're going to see, that Allah, responded to her in a way that was better than what she was asking for. So she asked for someone that she wanted to have as devoted to the service of Allah, and probably was just thinking at that time limited capacity, right? She had no idea that she would give birth to a child named Maryam, who would give birth to Isa alayhi salam, who was going to be a very, very significant, one of the greatest prophets of humanity, right? One of the most significant human beings ever to walk this planet. So these du'as, like when they were made, they were expecting something much less. The people making dua, they imagined something much less, and Allah gave them something far beyond anything that they could possibly imagine. So continuing, Allah says, قال رب أنى يكون لي غلام وقد بلغني الكبر وامرأتي عاقر قال كذلك الله يفعل ما يشاء. So then he said, my Lord, how will I have a boy when I've reached old age and my wife is barren? The angel said, such as Allah, He does what He wills. So he's shocked, right? Zechariah is an old man. He made this dua fully expecting the best from Allah, right? He expected nothing but the best from Allah when he made this dua. But he's still surprised because he's an old man, right? Physically, it doesn't make any sense. He's an old man. He's not capable of having kids, and neither is his wife. And that's why he's saying that, right? He's just shocked. He doesn't know how to process it, and it's beyond human understanding. So it's very clear here from these ayat that what was happening here was definitely not normal. It was definitely a miracle. It was something beyond normal. So it's supernatural, right? That's what was happening here, what Allah was allowing to happen. So then that's why the angels say, قَالَ كَذَلِكَ اللَّهُ يَفْعَلُ مَا يَشَاءُ. Like, even though it's not possible in the way we understand the world and its limits and laws, Allah can do whatever He wants. Like, Allah does whatever He wants. اللَّهُ يَفْعَلُ مَا يَشَاءُ. Then He says, قَالَ رَبِّ اجْعَل لِّي آيَةً قال آيتك ألا تكلم الناس ثلاثة أيام إلا رمزا واذكر ربك كثيرا وسبح بالعشي والإبكار. So he said, my Lord, make for me a sign. So He said, your sign is that you will not be able to speak to the people for 3 days except by gesture. And remember your Lord much and exalt Him with praise in the evening and the morning. So he's asking Allah for a sign, for this situation that's really beyond his ability to understand it as a human being. And the sign that he's given is something also that we don't like. It's another miracle, right? Allah takes away his ability to speak to other people. He can't speak to other people anymore. His tongue is tied. When he tries to talk to other people, he cannot. He loses that ability. And he can only communicate with people by signs. Like, he has to gesture to people in order to convey ideas. So that's taken away from his ability to talk to people, is taken away. But he's still able to remember Allah and to say, to glorify and praise Allah and to say those, the dhikr. That ability Allah still kept with him. So it's a miracle. It's another thing that's strange that's happening here. وإذ قالت الملائكة يا مريم إن الله اصطفاك وطهرك واصطفاك على نساء العالمين. So then Allah cuts back. So we were talking about the wife of Imran and Maryam, and then we talked about Zechariah. And then Allah talked a little bit about Zechariah's story in the midst of all this, because he was, remember again, going back to the story, he went and he saw Maryam. He heard her say that Allah gives whoever He wills without measure. and then he was inspired to make dua, so he did. Um, so he's making dua, and Allah gives him Yahya. So that was Allah is explaining that part of the story. Now it's back to Maryam. So Allah tells us, and mention when the angel said, "O Mary, indeed Allah has chosen you and purified you and chosen you above the women of the world." So the angels are telling Maryam, again, very special human being that's communicated by the angels. They're telling her that Allah chose you, right? In Allah astafaki wa taharaki, and then He purified you. And then they mention stafaki, and He chose you. So Allah already mentioned that He chose her, but it's mentioned again here to emphasize how special Maryam alayhi salam was. وَاصْطَفَاكِ عَلَى نِسَاءِ الْعَالَمِينَ. Not just was she chosen, but she was selected above the other women of the alameen, like the worlds. It's like really the language is even more powerful. It's not just like the nisa or the women of humanity, but it's just like saying the women of the worlds. Like Maryam alayhi salam is given that high position. So again, you're seeing the effect of the power of that there was this dua that the wife of Imran made. She was given Maryam, and she had no idea how much Allah is putting value in this child, Maryam, who is a female. Right? Allah is giving so much importance, and He's putting so much weight on this, on Maryam alayhi salam. And He continues, "Ya Maryam qunuti li rabbiki wasjudi warka'i ma'ar raki'in." O Mary, be devoutly obedient to your Lord, and prostrate and bow with those who bow in prayer. So again, continuing that Allah has chosen you, right? And He's chosen you over the women of the worlds. So, Ya Maryam, uqnuti li rabbiki wasjudi warka'i ma'ar raki'in. So therefore be devoutly obedient to your Lord, be devoutly obedient to your Lord, and prostrate. So do sajda often, and do ruku' with those who do ruku', like make your bowing with those who bow. And so it's clear from this that she worshipped Allah a lot. Maryam alayhi salam was known for that. And continuing, ذَلِكَ مِنْ أَنْبَاءِ الْغَيْبِ نُوحِيهِ إِلَيْكَ وَمَا كُنْتَ لَدَيْهِمْ إِذْ يُلْقُونَ أَقْلَامَهُمْ أَيُّهُمْ يَكْفُلُ مَرْيَمَ وَمَا كُنْتَ لَدَيْهِمْ إِذْ يَخْتَصِمُونَ. That is from the news of the unseen which we revealed to you, Muhammad. Again, and continuing, actually, let me finish this verse. And you were not with them when they cast their pens as to which of them should be responsible for Mary, nor were you with them when they disputed. So it's clear here that if you remember what I was saying in the beginning, that these ayat, they were probably revealed for the Christians that came from Najran, the Yemeni Christians that came as a delegation to the Prophet ﷺ around the 9th year. So this is a fact that's mentioned, and it's very briefly touched upon here. So it was more significant probably at the time, and Allah knows best. But it's something that Allah says that this is the story that Allah is telling you. It's something from the ghaib, like you didn't know about it. It's something that was clear to the people that were happening at the time, but there was no record of it. And the specific fact that He talks about is you were not with them when they cast their pens as to which of them should be responsible for Mary, nor were you with them when they disputed. So it's clear here that that people were fighting over who gets to have the care of Maryam. Ultimately, Zechariah is the one that was decided to be the one that takes care of Maryam. But people were fighting over having care of Maryam after the wife of Imran brought her as a child that would be devoted to the service of God. So then continuing, إِذْ قَالَتِ الْمَلَائِكَةُ يَا مَرْيَمُ إِنَّ اللَّهَ يُبَشِّرُكِ بِكَلِمَةٍ مِّنْهُ اسْمُهُ الْمَسِيحُ عِيسَى ابْنُ مَرْيَمَ وَجِيهًا فِي الدُّنْيَا وَالْآخِرَةِ وَمِنَ الْمُقَرَّبِينَ. And mention when the angel said, "O Mary, indeed Allah gives you good tidings of a word from Him, whose name will be the Messiah, Jesus, the Son of Mary, distinguished in this world and the hereafter, and among those brought near to Allah." And so, continuing, Allah tells us that the angels that were before telling Maryam to to devote herself and to be devout to Allah, to do ruku' and sajda. But then continuing on that, the angels also said, Ya Maryam, they came with glad tidings. Indeed, Allah gives you good tidings of a word from Him, whose name will be Masih, Jesus, the son of Mary. So what's interesting here is Allah, like the angels, when they see Maryam to tell her this good news, they mention a lot of things. One is that she's going to have a child. That again, this child's a word from Him. That He is going to be the Messiah, not just any normal child, but a very special, chosen child, right? And His name is Isa. And it's also clear that they say the son of Mary, right? So it's clear that he's actually going to be her son, like literally, biologically, he's going to be her son. And he's distinguished in this world and the hereafter, and among those brought near to Allah. So like that ending part is also very significant. And it's like it's almost like the echo of the dua of the wife of Imran, that it's Maryam who was supposed to be and always meant to be the mother of this really special person that was going to be distinguished, wajihan fi dunya wal akhirah, like really dignified, honored in both this dunya and the akhirah. So his name is gonna be well known. Wa min al-muqarrabin, he's gonna be someone that's very near to Allah. So he's a very special human being. وَيُكَلِّمُ النَّاسَ فِي الْمَهْدِ وَكَهْلًا وَمِنَ الصَّالِحِينَ, and he will speak to people in the cradle and in maturity, and he will be of the righteous. So another miracle that's mentioned about this. So it was already a miracle when they said the first part, because they're saying that she's going to have a child, and she knows that she's never touched anyone before, so she has no idea how she is physically going to have a child. But on top of that, they add to it. They say that this child will talk to people while he's a child. So when he's in the cradle, he's going to talk to people, and when he's mature, an adult, he's going to talk to people. So both in the cradle and in maturity, he's going to talk to people, and he's going to be of the righteous. So again, miracles already in the very beginning of the story of Isa alayhi salam. قالت رب أنى يكون لي ولد ولم يمسسني بشر قال كذلك الله يخلق ما يشاء إذا قضى أمرا فإنما يقول له كن فيكون. She said, my Lord, how will I have a child when no man has touched me? Like we were saying. The angel said, such is Allah. He creates what He wills. When He decrees a matter, He only says to it, be, and it is. So it's simple for Allah. All He has to say is be, and it is. Again, you have to think about the context that this is mentioned these ayat are revealed concerning the situation when the Christians from Najran came. So, the Islamic explanation of the birth of Isa alayhi salam is very simple. Allah just said kun and fayakun, and it became. Allah all He said was be, and it is. Just like He said for Adam alayhi salam, which is an argument that's going to be presented later in Al Imran in the surah. But just like He said to Adam, be, and he was. Just like that, Allah is saying for Isa alayhi salam, be, and he is. So that's a miracle that Allah gave. And whenever He wills for something, that's all He has to do. Then continuing, وَيُعَلِّمُهُ الْكِتَابَ وَالْحِكْمَةَ وَالتَّوْرَاةَ وَالْإِنْجِيلَ. And this Isa alayhi salam, he's special. He's going to teach the people al-kitab wal-hikmah, both the book and hikmah, like how to act on the book, wisdom, وَالتَّوْرَاةَ وَالْإِنْجِيلَ, and the Torah and the Gospel. So the Torah is something that was already known to them at the time, but al-Injil is something new, right, that He's going to come with. That's mentioned here. وَرَسُولًا إِلَى بَنِي إِسْرَائِيلَ أَنِّي قَدْ جِئْتُكُمْ بِآيَةٍ مِّن رَّبِّكُمْ أَنِّي أَخْلُقُ لَكُم مِّنَ الطِّينِ كَهَيْئَةِ الطَّيْرِ فَأَنفُخُ فِيهِ فَيَكُونُ طَيْرًا بِإِذْنِ اللَّهِ وَأُبْرِئُ الْأَكْمَهَ وَالْأَبْرَصَ وَأُحْيِي الْمَوْتَى بِإِذْنِ اللَّهِ وَأُنَبِّئُكُم بِمَا تَأْكُلُونَ وَمَا تَدَّخِرُونَ فِي بُيُوتِكُمْ إِنَّ فِي ذَلِكَ لَآيَةً لَكُمْ إِن كُنتُم مُّؤْمِنِينَ. And make him a messenger to the children of Israel. So that's mentioned clearly here that his mission is going to be as a messenger to the children of Israel, right? Who will say, indeed, I have come to you with a sign from your Lord, in that I designed for you from clay that which is like the form of a bird, and I breathe into it and becomes a bird by the permission of Allah, and I cure the blind and the leper, and I give life to the dead by the permission of Allah, and I inform you what you eat and what you store in your houses. Indeed, that is a sign for you if you're believers. So Allah fast forwards. Before we were talking about the birth of Isa alayhi salam, and we were talking about the angels who were talking to Maryam. All of a sudden, and Allah does this so seamlessly many times in the Quran, you'll notice that this is something that Allah does very beautifully. We were just talking about not even like the birth of Isa alayhi salam, and all of a sudden we fast forwarded to what Isa alayhi salam is actually saying to them as an adult prophet. He's saying, indeed, I have come to you with a sign from your Lord, in that I designed for you from clay that which is like the form of a bird. So he's able to actually, design a bird out of clay, and then he breathes into it, and then it's given life by the permission of Allah. So it's clear here, mentioned repeatedly, bi-idhnillah, if you hear in the Arabic, by the permission of Allah, by the permission of Allah, because these are all things that are crazy miracles. Like the ability to give life to something that's inanimate is a miracle, right? It's a huge miracle, and it's mentioned clearly by the permission of Allah, so that people don't deify him as a man. The prophets never came with the mission to get people to deify them. They wanted to always point their followers to the worship of Allah and only Allah. So this is a miracle, and he wants them to. This miracle is meant to guide people to remember Allah, not to worship Isa alayhi salam, which is why it's very clearly mentioned here multiple times. Bi-idhnillah, Allah gave me this permission to do this. He also had the ability to cure the blind and the leper, and he can give life to the dead, all by the permission of Allah. Amazing, huge feats and huge miracles. And he also was able to tell them things that he wouldn't know. There's no way he would have known. So he's saying, I can tell you what you're eating and what you store inside your houses. Like, it's hidden to me. I don't know what's there, but I'm informed of these things by the permission of Allah as well. So that's all a sign if you're believers. A couple more ayat, and then we're going to end here, inshallah. ومصدقا لما بين يدي من التوراة ولأحل لكم بعض الذي حرم عليكم وجئتكم بآية من ربكم فاتقوا الله وأطيعون. And I have come confirming what was before me of the Torah, and to make lawful for you some of what was forbidden to you. And I have come to you with a sign from your Lord, so fear Allah and obey me. Continuing, he's telling Bani Israel that I'm confirming what was before me of the Torah. So he's not coming to eradicate that. Again, the Torah was something that was known to Bani Israel. They were studying it. They were, and that was their book. But many of them deviated from it, right? So he's coming here to say, I'm only confirming what was before me of the Torah. Just like it's the same story with Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He also confirmed what was there before him. And again, then Isa alayhi salam adds, and to make lawful some of what was forbidden to you. So in the Torah, there may have been things that were forbidden in the old law, and Isa alayhi salam came to say that this is some of these rules are changed now. Allah has allowed some of these things now that he didn't allow before. So he's saying, as a prophet, I'm coming to you with signs from your Lord. So fear Allah and obey me. And the last ayah that I want to go over is, Inna Allah Rabbi wa Rabbukum fa'buduh hadha siratun mustaqim. Again, that main message that Isa alayhi salam came with is echoed here. Inna Allah Rabbi wa Rabbukum. Indeed, Allah is my Lord and He's your Lord. Fa'buduh, so worship Him. Hadha siratun mustaqim. That is the straight path. This was the message that Isa alayhi salam came with. This is the same message that the prophets before came with. It's not by accident that Allah mentions in the beginning of this this portion that we talked about that Inna Allah astafa Adama wa Nuhan wa ala Ibrahim wa ala Imran ala al-alamin. And you're going to see, if you continue to read the translation of Ali Imran, many times Allah references Ibrahim alayhi salam over and over again, because it's a figure that everyone knew, and everyone knows who Ibrahim alayhi salam is, and they know that he worshipped only Allah. And so Isa alayhi salam is just coming with the same message that Ibrahim alayhi salam came with, which is to only worship Allah, who's my Lord and your Lord. So worship Him. This is the straight path. So I'm going to stop here, inshallah. جزاكم الله خيرا. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر لي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين فاستغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. May Allah accept this from us, and may Allah now enable us to reflect on the Quran and to grow from it and to develop a closer connection with the Quran. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. صلى الله على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا.
الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله